Good morning, everybody. I want to give you just a little bit of background on me and how I got here. I actually have 4 companies, all within the home industry. So I have a remodeling company, I have a design company specifically geared towards the trade, I have a flipping company, and a wholesaling company, which any of you that know anything about wholesaling knows that's my problem child. But I will say I started out, in construction, I guess you could say, at a young age. First, we're going to go over my background, but we're going to talk about some antiquated tools in this industry, tools that we can utilize right now that are very affordable and feasible, and then the tech to come. But to give you some background on me, I kind of grew up in this industry. I grew up with a contractor, a carpenter, and a mason all in my family. And my mom actually she was a realtor that specialized in home remodels. So as a kid, she would have an open house and say, okay, today you're gonna go do the master bath. Go in there, design it, pitch it when they come through, make them fall in love with it to where they need to buy it and do it. And I was like, okay, cool. So of course, I joke, it's in my DNA. This is how I ended up as a designer. But Diane that spoke yesterday, I related to her speech because I did not plan to go into the industry. I fell into it right after college. I landed at Ferguson Enterprises and started designing high-end kitchens and baths in downtown DC Design Center. And then it just kind of went from there. However, at one point, I got antsy and said, this is not what I planned to do. I was going to do something different. So I left design and I went and worked in the tech industry for about 9 years. I worked in a lot of different facets, worked with a lot of startups, helping them get their technology right. I'd move on to the next one. But I learned a lot about all the up and comings. So I got really into it, got really excited about it. And then ultimately I started with a startup and they said, we're not sure if this one's gonna go anywhere. You should have a side gig. Well, I already did. I had been designing houses on the side for years. Friends, their neighbors would see it, they'd have me in. So I decided to make it official. And that's how this happened. So I ended up going in full time. And once I got back into the home industry, I realized how antiquated it was, especially when it came to technology and how people were just working so hard and doing so much when there were tools that could help them streamline their processes and give them more breathing room. So, with that said, this picture is from 1963. I'm not 100% sure if it's architects or engineers. Gives me engineer vibes. But when you think about it, when you have your 3D print or 3D visual of a job site right now, and you think about this is how drawings used to happen. I mean, I know every time a client's like, can you change this? Can you tweak this? If they did that, like how long would that take? I can't even think about it. So we have come a ways. But we're moving in a direction where we are seeing more and more technology in our industry. And there are certain things that we are completely going to do away with. And there's out with the old. I think COVID taught us 100% face-to-face meetings. Because I had been in the tech industry, I was using Zoom from the very beginning. I was telling my clients, I'm not gonna drag you around, I'm gonna bring selections to you, but also we're gonna do meetings on Zoom. And I like that for going over drawings because then I drive the meeting, they see exactly what I want them to see, I can keep them focused and on target, I can zoom in and zoom out. It's a fabulous tool, and they love that because they're busy and they have a life and they don't want this process to consume more of it than it needs to. Showrooms and selection centers, it's going away. I know that sounds crazy because right now they're like Starbucks, they're everywhere. But when you think about it, you have these showrooms that the second they're built, they're cool for a little bit, and then they're antiquated. And it's somebody in that showroom thought, oh, these vignettes are perfect. And they only speak to about 1% of the population. People come in, and their main goal is to get their layout, get their pricing, find their colors, find their door style, and none of that has to happen in a showroom. This is going to be eliminated because of technology. Limited options. As a builder, as a contractor, when you're giving the one of three option, that's over. Clients are now, they're on the internet. They're sourcing us. They're looking at all these things. They're on Pinterest. They're on Houzz. Those one of three options are just going to put you on the back burner for other builders and contractors that have a wide array of opportunities and selections based on what they have access to, and most of that is through digital technology. Outrageous design fees. Now, I'm a designer, so trust me, on some of these bigger projects, that's still gonna exist. But for the mom and pops, like the little Joe Schmo that is wanting to redo his kitchen, he's not gonna wanna pay a crazy design fee, but having a designer on his job makes him feel special. They feel like they've got, something unique and custom and not just something from Lowe's and Home Depot. So we need to think about that when we're structuring and building in design fees on the builder and contractor side. And then the last two are ones that I really want to talk about, which are minimal transparency and basic renderings. So when it comes to transparency, and I think Latrice touched on this yesterday, and how it is so, so, so important to be transparent with your clients, because the home industry in general, there's a sense of untrustworthiness because a lot of bad apples spoiled the bunch, but especially on residential construction. And I'm from, based out of Northern Virginia, right outside of DC, and there's a statistic that 63% of our contractors are not licensed, bonded, or insured, but they are working. And the problem is that if one of those people get on your job and they mess it up, you really don't have much of a leg to stand on, especially if you can't track them down once it's done. And all of that ensues fear and concern in our clients. So, one of the things that I like to talk about when it comes to transparency, I'm not talking about getting too deep in the weeds on specific numbers, on finances, things like that, but I'm talking about they need to understand the process. We need to be making sure, and this goes pretty much for all different professions in here. A lot of times when we get clients that are nervous or asking a lot of questions or concerned, it's because they don't fully understand what's happening. And that creates distrust, and they automatically think something wrong is happening. So for example, it's in my contract, I break it out, how my fees are, how I make my money. I put in there that I'd make markup. I know that a lot of people in the industry hate that, but I'm sorry, because if they walk into a boutique and buy a pair of pants, they don't ask, well, how much markup did you put on that? They just buy the pants if it's the right price and they like them. So I make sure that they understand I'm a small business. This is how I do it. I run lean. I don't have a showroom. I don't have a big office space. So I have good margins, and you reap the benefit, but this is how it works. The other thing is that if you also give them timelines and processes for when things are happening, they feel more comfortable. Their home's getting ripped apart. They deserve to have that conversation, and this just increases trust. And then also, if you'll see, with self-accountability equals client empathy, I love this, because I'm going to show you a tool that allows you to give some visibility to your client, which in turn gives you self-accountability. You're saying, here are the deadlines I'm going to do my best to meet. Here's when this is going to happen. Here's when this is going to happen. And that way, the client has a little bit of empathy. For example, with COVID, I can't tell you how many conversations I had about permits and just getting things through, inspections. I would tell stories about other inspections, especially There for a while, we were having inspections, video inspections. So on electrical, they're looking at certain things and they may forget to ask something. So a permit gets denied because it was an issue on their end. They have to go back and get somebody to direct them to what to see. And it really helped because then they were feeling some empathy for us and what we were going through, and it made the process easier on both sides, even though it was still frustrating. And it also eliminates customer sourcing, not completely. It's always going to happen. You're always going to have that guy that does it. But once they feel comfortable and they understand how you're pricing your things and they understand that you're getting wholesale and trade pricing and how you're working, then they feel less necessity to go source everything you're showing them online. And then ultimately, transparency leads to loyalty. That's the biggest one up here, because when you get a client that trusts you, then they come back. I have clients that I've done 3, 4, 5 projects in different phases through their house, or they've moved and I'm there at the inspection, or I'm there before they make an offer, or their kid buys their first condo and we spruce it up. So it just really leads to return business. So one of the things that can give you guys quality transparency and just overall simplify your process is technology. And I'm going to talk about a couple quick tools that are just simple that you can implement, and this is across all professions in the room. All of these are great for team projects, rollouts, build-outs, you name it. Trello's the first one. I love this. Obviously, I'm a flipper. I actually found this through some flippers that I work with that are just doing mammoth amounts of projects at once. But what you can do is you can create these little silos, and with each silo, you have little tabs. So this is a tab, this is a tab, this is a tab. You can attach a picture, you can attach documents, you can invite your client to be a part of this board. For example, on a kitchen, we may have flooring in one silo, cabinets in one, all of our drawings and elevations in another, hardware, lighting, you name it. And then we could have one that's timeline, where we're breaking out what happens. First we demo, this should take about 2 days. Then we do this, then we do this, then we do this, with a rough estimate. Set their expectations, remind them this is construction, doesn't always work as we hope, but it does. And then that way it gives them like a sense of being included, and you have self-accountability, and it builds that trust. And it just keeps you organized, because the more people you add to this board, the more access people have, the less phone calls you get asking for things, and it's free. So, oops, wrong way. So the next one is Slack. Slack is a tool that I strongly encourage. How many of you have been on a project or a job site or a client walkthrough, and you've had to go back and pull up an email, and you're like fumbling through the 1,000 emails you got in the last week and you can't find it? So the thing is that Slack gets you off email. Your company should not be on email. We get too many. They're too watered down. It's a mess. There's not really good organizational tools that are functional. Slack fixes that. So this is an example of my Slack for my remodeling company. You can see over there I've got all my client projects. I've got elevations and drawings in here. My contractor is on here, our project coordinator, guys on the crew we put on here. Everybody has access to it. And you create channels just based on the content. So I have them on projects. You can have one for marketing. You can have one for social media. With our design firm for trade, we have like a whole section for social media. When somebody thinks of something good, they drop it on there. So it's a really fabulous tool. And it also starts freeing up your inbox for client emails, important. You can start to clean that up and have less mess in your inbox. You can tag people directly. You can click on these individually and have a thread conversation underneath it. I can't say enough good. Also, Slack and Trello integrate with Salesforce. So if you don't have a CRM, you should, and it can all talk to one another. And then this is a really simple one, Microsoft To Do. It's part of the Microsoft suite. This one is one you can do individual ones. This is one for my team. We've got everything out here that we want to get accomplished. And you can see in these little dots, they're assigned. So you can assign them to individuals. As they complete them, then you can actually, they drop down below with a line. So it's a great organizational internal tool. And also, if you click on them, you can do due dates, reminders, you can add files, and for example here, add notes. So if when Eddie was working on this, I clicked on it to see what had he started working on it? Oh, he had. Okay, I'll just wait. I don't need to take time to call and talk to him about that. So those are just some simple tools that I can't stress enough to do YouTube. YouTube. You can go online and pull up any of these and get great video tutorials on how each of them work, how to interconnect one of them, make them speak to one another, and also incorporate into Salesforce if you have that. So now that we've talked about just simple organizational tools that polishes you up and makes you more professional and organized in front of your clients, now I want to talk about the design stuff, which that's the fun part. So I remember the first time I saw SketchUp and I was like, oh wow, that's cool. Like that's so much better than just a 2D or like a, you know, that's really awesome. And then I saw V-Ray. So I don't know if everyone's not familiar. This is a rendering. This is not a photo. This is actually a rendering. And this is the direction that more and more companies are going as the standard. So if you're handing your client a little black and white flat layout, then, and you're bidding against somebody who's like showing them, oh, this is how we'll give you, this is how we'll present the design to you, and your price is the same, guess which one they're probably going with? Because people hire us because they don't have the vision. They can't see it. I didn't realize that when I first got into this. I thought, oh, everybody can walk into a room and start ripping it apart and redesigning it and moving doors and windows and seeing what it looks like. That's not true. They need to see it. They need to understand it. The more realistic image that they get, the better the chance that you're going to get that job. And I can't stress it enough for exteriors. I mean, if you're about to, I've got a job right now in Great Falls. We are gutting the entire house, blowing out the left side, and putting on a 2,300 square foot addition. So we're refacing the entire front of the house. It's gonna look like a brand new home. We have the CAD drawings, but they can't really visualize what their home is gonna look like. They wanna pick their colors. They wanna see what they look like. They've got some wood posts on the front. They wanna be able to pick out those colors. This is how you do that. This is how you make the process much faster and cleaner, and you have a client that has signed off on actual visuals rather than just simple black and white drawings where when it's done, they're like, but wait a minute, that's not exactly what I wanted. So can you play this video? So this is a video walkthrough done on V-Ray. And this is something that we offer for our clients and our contractors and our builders, to where, let's say that we're doing a new construction home or a major renovation with a build out. We can actually take the V-Ray software and do a full video walkthrough of the property so that they can get a sense of what it feels like to move through it. Visuals, we can change the lighting. They can see it at night, they can see it at morning, whatever it is. But this is how we kind of up the game for our contractors. Do I need to? How many of you in here are residential builders? Got a few. Are any of you guys using things like V-Ray right now? You are, okay, awesome. So I think that this is something that we need to start thinking about as trade subs. You know, like you never call the plumber and say, hey, can you do the electrical on this house for me tomorrow? So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to find a company like ourselves that can do this for you and just build it into your package. It's gonna start elevating your game. It's gonna get you higher end clients, and it's also gonna get you clients. It's gonna build trust because they have more confidence in the product that they're getting. No? Okay. Well, YouTube it. It's great. So these are all some of the things that you should absolutely be utilizing right this minute in order to have a competitive edge. But now I want to talk about what's coming in our industry. And by the way, when it comes to builders, there's so many different project management softwares, and they're incredibly expensive but worth it. And those are things that could be an entirely different conversation. Today, I just wanted to focus on kind of like the simple things that are affordable and easy to implement to really up your game. But now I want to talk about the future, because we are moving in the next 4 to 5 years, most definitely in 10 years, you are not going to recognize our industry. It is not going to be what it was before. This is Legacy Kitchens based out of Canada. We really love what they're doing, and we're kind of molding some of the things that we're doing and implementing around some of their processes and services. But VR is the next thing. Your clients are going to be, you're going to be bidding against contractors that, let's say you're just doing a kitchen, but you're knocking out a wall, and maybe the client's concerned about spacing and how will it look for the living room, and they're just not getting it through 2020. Well, VR does it. They can actually put these goggles on, stand in their home, and see their space, their new space, see what it's going to look like, and get a really good sense of it. So this is going to be industry standard moving forward. Also, when it comes, I know I talked about eliminating showrooms. We're going to have showrooms, just not in the sense of what we do now. This is a digital showroom from Porcelainosa. It's a small scale that they're starting to implement. This is something that we're working on building on a much larger scale, but you can actually touch that screen and go through a lot of their selections, and that's how the vignettes are going to go moving forward. Why would you have a $110,000 showroom build out when you could have a screen that, instead of having just 6 vignettes, you've got 1,000 to go through? And then Sparkvision is a marketing company that does the miniature. They do like smaller versions. I think these are great too, especially if you guys are going to trade shows, having booths. Things like this are really powerful. So when we look at this picture now, after going through everything that we went through, we realize we have come pretty far since 1963, even though it still feels a little antiquated. In 1982, we got AutoCAD, and this is what it looks like today. But as we move forward, like I said, the next couple of years are going to really change what we're doing. We, as a company with BB Design Co., are really pushing to move this forward more quickly. We are developing software to make it easier for clients to figure out layouts and budgets and have a good sense of what they're doing. Also, to be able to actually walk through their home. So with VR, you can walk through this space virtually and see it. We're developing a software now where the client will actually be able to open cabinet doors, look at the accessories, move the shower glass, see if they like it. They're going to actually be touching and feeling and really immersing in their project. And I think that's the future of what showrooms are actually going to be. And just in closing, this is a quote that I just found really appropriate. It says, "Once a new technology rolls over you, if you're not part of the steamroller, you're part of the road." So I love my trades. I have been the one on a job site, running back and forth, running to Home Depot when I need to, working with the guys when we're lean and jumping in. And I know how hard you work, how much time you spend away from your family, how much stress you have. And when starting BB Design Co., my entire goal was to try to pull some of that off of the trade and give them a better quality of life and sense of life. And we do that through technology. We're helping them earn jobs faster. We're helping them close jobs. We're helping them streamline their organization, get them up and running on a tighter, more organized ship, which means, they're just running smoother, better overall, and they're hopefully going to have a better quality of life and more time on their hands. So my big hope is that everyone gets on board and doesn't get steamrolled.